What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports leagues, whether it be NFL, NHL, MLB, or NBA, games, news, highlights, or training camp recaps, like we'll talk about. We're here just for all the news sports-wise. And Nick, obviously, no better time of the year. We can sense football coming around the corner. We're in the last day or two of July. I believe there's 31s. So in July.
Yeah.
So
2 days.
2 days, we'll have August, and then pretty soon the Hall of Fame game coming up in preseason to get underway. So it's exciting. But obviously, with that, we're seeing training camp. We're seeing a lot of rookies, take the field, and just a lot of plays happening, whether it be good highs or lows. And we're going to talk about them real quick. But first, Nick, it's not, the end of July, August, if we're not talking about Madden ratings real quick. And in front of me, I have the top 10 highest graded safeties on Madden and wide receivers. And I want to get your thoughts. Are they too high or too low?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to start with safeties or receivers first?
Do safeties because I saw that list. I just can't. I know who the top one is, and I'm not sure I agree with it, but we can kind of go through it.
Yeah. So right off the bat, Jesse Bates comes in at a 97 overall, three overalls ahead of the next person, which I don't really agree with. I'm not even sure it's a consensus that he's the best safety in the league. But 97 overall is very high. But he is a big reason why the Falcons defense wasn't awful, considering they were had the worst pass rush in the league. So I do think he deserves to be somewhere in the top 3, but to comfortably be far and away the best receiver, I think is still a disgrace, or not a disgrace, but a little questionable. Then at number 2,
the guy who's second. I don't know how far down the list you're going to go, but I think he's the best safety. I think he should be.
See, I think the best safety for me is number 8 on this list, but we'll get into that. Number 2, though, Antoine Winfield, 94 overall. I don't mind the overall. You could even say 95, 96. He's that good. But number 2, they gave him, I think, a good amount of respect. I would have maybe bumped up 1 or 2 more overalls. Then at number 3, Minkah Fitzpatrick at a 93 overall. I think, people may think he's kind of fallen off a little bit in play, but I still think he's one of the best safeties. And I'm honestly not mad at the overall. I think he deserves to be around a 93 still.
Mm-hmm. I just pulled up the list, and now that I'm looking at it, there's a few guys on here who I don't really know if they should be up here. But, I'm not going to hate. I'll just say
they still gave Derwin James a 91 overall. Tyrann Mathieu had a 91 overall.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, for me, I'm not quite sure about that. Budda Baker, kind of, he's still solid. I don't mind that. Kevin Byard had an 89. I'm not too mad at. He did kind of fall off once he went to Philly, I feel like. But, that's for another day. What I think the worst ranking is on this list is number 8, Kyle Hamilton at an 89 overall. He's arguably, I think, the best safety already, first team All-Pro last year. Big part why the Ravens are the number 1 defense. I find it hard to believe that he's never mind an 89 overall. I think should be like a 95, 96, and arguably be the best one. Having him as the eighth best safety in the NFL is truly disgusting.
I agree. I think Madden really does disrespect young players, no matter how good or bad they are. I feel like we always see this like that. A young guy just doesn't get his credit.
And then the other one, number 9, Hufanga of the 49ers, before that torn ACL, was one of the best safeties in football. Well, I probably would have bumped him up to like a 92 instead of an 89, but that's that. And then move to receivers. So Tyreek Hill finally joins the 99 overall club. So Tyreek Hill is the highest graded receiver on Madden. At 99 overall. Then at number 2 is Justin Jefferson at 98. He was 99 last year. So I don't know why he moved down, but he did.
Probably because he got hurt. That's the only thing I can think of.
But even then, man, still at his best. I mean, 100+ yards average.
Hey, I'm not the devs. I think Justin Jefferson's a 99. I'm just going off of how they probably think. I try to go into the minds of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play that though, Tyreek was hurt for a little bit last year. It didn't have Tyreek's first year with Miami was better than his second year, but Tyreek, I think deserves to still be high up on this list. 99 is fair. At number 3, they gave CeeDee Lamb his respect at 96. I think after the year he had, I think you had to put him around there. He was so good, and after the Dallas offense, after him, it gets really lackluster on the weapons front. So I love the CeeDee Lamb respect Madden gave him there. So I'm cool with that. Number 4, they have AJ Brown at a 90s, 95 overall. AJ Brown's obviously really good. And tie with him is Amon-Ra at 95, which, is very solid. Number 6 is Davante Adams. Still one of the best in the business at 94. I could argue you could just throw him at 95 to put him with AJ and Amon-Ra in that same category. But, Amon-Ra and AJ have had career years the last couple seasons. And Davante, whether it just be due to age and quarterback play, his production hasn't been quite the same. Not that I expect it to be, just because the quarterback play has been a lot worse since you go from, Aaron Rodgers to Jimmy G and still remain productive. So I still have them probably around the same, but they've definitely caught up to them. And then at 7, they put Ja'Marr Chase. So they're still, a little bit probably lower because, a lot of people think Ja'Marr Chase is a top 3 to 5 receiver. But at some point, the production and the consistency has to match. And so I'm not really mad at them. If people think this is low for Ja'Marr, I don't really think it is. I think as of right now, he's proven to be around like the 7th best receiver in the league. I wouldn't put him above any of the other players in front of him because they've just been producing at a higher rate with more consistent play. And then number 8, Stephon Diggs, they still gave him his respect, one of the best route runners, which I'm cool with. And then to round out the list, Brandon Ayuk cracks the top 10 after the season he had, and Mike Evans, which is only fair because he's the definition of consistency.
Okay. I just saw on my phone 14 minutes ago that also Christian McCaffrey's now in the 99 club, which, I mean, is pretty given, cover athlete.
What he was last year, but okay.
Oh. Was he not? I can't remember.
I thought he was.
I don't. I haven't played Madden.
Maybe he was like a 98 or something. Yeah, I've always done. So McCaffrey's back in the 99.
Yep. I was just looking it up to see if they released the running backs, but I'm not finding anything other than just him being in the 99. So he'll probably be the best running back.
He's also the cover of Madden 25 now. So
right. So that's another reason.
Yeah. So McCaffrey joins it after the great season he had. No lie there. He's definitely going to be the number 1 running back, rightfully so. But yeah, overall, you have any complaints with the wide receivers list, or do you think I thought they did a solid job there.
Yeah, the wide receiver list is definitely better than the safeties one. Yeah. It's tough. You can't just hand out 99s like it's candy as much as you'd like to give, Jefferson a 99, CD maybe close to a 99, but 99 is reserved for the best position.
Yeah, if there's one receiver that gets it, Jets over Tyreek all day. But
I mean, if we're going off last season,
Jets is still better.
Tyreek had more yards.
More yards per game though goes to Jefferson.
I don't think Madden looks at that.
I think that's what it should come down to because more yards. But I mean, the last 4 seasons before that, Jefferson had more yards. But
hey, you can take it up with Ochocinco.
What?
You can take it up with Ochocinco because isn't he one of the ratings guys?
I don't even know. Is he?
I feel like he's always posting, videos talking about players trying to contact him to put them at a higher overall. So I think he's one of the ratings people.
All I saw was on the Instagram of the ratings, Jefferson just put laughing emojis. So I think, he's chill with it. And, I respect the comments because, it's they're all just defending Jefferson, and a lot of people for some reason were attacking Aaron Donald with it. But
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, I guess because Aaron Donald consistently remained at a 99 despite having injury problems. And Jefferson, he's clearly still the best receiver in the league, and he doesn't get that same treatment. But I respect the comments because they do have a point. I mean, so some guys just kind of stay 99. I think the shortest term for 99 was Russell Wilson, who had it for I think like 3 weeks and then got bumped down, which was kind of funny. But we've had some peaks that have been crazy. But overall, definitely been a good sign just to see this all coming out because football, that means it's right around the corner. And with that, we'll kind of just talk about a couple maybe training camp things, highs and lows so far of training camp. And maybe, since we're more of Patriots and Vikings fans, that's where we'll probably kind of start. And for me as a Vikings fan, obviously can't go to any training camps, unless I want to fly out and stuff. So just been kind of seeing what's online, Twitter, the podcasters, going out there just to see. And so far, it's been, I think, a lot of good because you're seeing just, perception-wise, Darnold's been connecting with Jefferson, Addison in their wide receiver 3 battle. Maybe Jalen Nailor's going to win it on a lot of deep throws. The concerning part maybe is, I guess, Sam Darnold's intermediate throws kind of aren't quite there yet, and that touch doesn't lack the same on, those kind of balls. But his deep ball's there right now. They've been some highlight plays, but, and same with JJ McCarthy. He's been developing, a good connection with the other guys. I think his problem is kind of the opposite of Sam Darnold, where he excels in the short to intermediate routes, but the deep throws, still a work in progress. But, they've also made their mistakes where I've seen a lot of, picks instead, or, not a lot, but picks, which is good because, it's showing that battle because, I think people take this perception like if your offense is scoring every drive in training camp, your defense might be an issue, don't you think? Or, if it's vice versa and the defenses, you're like, our defense is clamps. We, haven't allowed one touchdown. Maybe it's a sign your offense is just going to be really bad. And no matter how good you guys are, you might lose 10-9. So I think, it's good just to see the different battles going on and see a clear wide receiver 3, which was one of my pieces. Cause obviously after Jefferson Ness, and there's a wide receiver 3 option still up for grabs, and we're especially going to need that considering Hockenson will probably miss like the first month of the season, still recovering from that torn ACL last season. So you need someone to get a pass catcher. So that's what I'm probably most curious about as we enter, the first pad practice yesterday and first pad practice weeks, and ahead of the preseason games, because that's where you'll get a first look, even though, the offenses I think are so vanilla, it doesn't even matter too much, and the defenses similar are just in the same cover 1 scheme or whatever.
Yeah, that's one thing you always look forward to, first week and a half of training camp, especially when the pads start coming on, is just how guys are going to react coming back from injuries. Because was that the first time Hockenson has torn his ACL, or has he done it again?
No, I thought it's the first.
So yeah, a big injury like that to a guy like him, you wonder if it changes his mentality or if he's going to, be just as locked in as before. But just going to the Patriots training camps, it was kind of, highlighted for a little bit by, people talking about just Drake May's growth is really obviously when he's the 3rd overall pick, all eyes are going to be on him. But there was actually a scare of, I don't know if you heard, Christian Barmore, who they just signed I think it was a 4-year, $100 million deal. He a few days ago got diagnosed with blood clots, so he had to get pulled off the field, had to go to the hospital. So I think he's still out indefinitely. I'm not really sure the updated news on him and whether he's going to be back anytime soon. I think Gerard Mayo might have said he's out of the hospital now, but like that's definitely a super scary thing because, obviously blood clots can, kill anybody. So that was kind of, a damper on, an exciting training camp. But guys like Antonio Gibson are back because he was just, I think he just had like a sickness, so he wasn't there the first few days. But Matt Judon, he I think finally came back. He's still talking about his contract. He's been, pretty verbal about wanting a new contract, which
I ain't paying him jack.
I was just gonna say I'm timid on it. I would definitely. I was even discussing like over, not the off season, but like right before the off season. Before the draft and everything, like if the Patriots should trade him for like a second round pick because he's got 1 year left on that contract. He's really not gonna bring. Obviously, he's one of their best defensive players, but he falls off second half of the year. He isn't gonna bring you 10 or 11 wins like a quarterback will. So you should try and go out and get value for him or get return for him rather than just him, getting mad at not getting a new contract, not, playing half the year because of contract holdouts, because that's all we see. And then he walks for nothing and goes to another team. So I was a little interested to see if they were going to trade him. I don't think they're going to now because I feel like by now it would have happened unless it happens at the deadline. Maybe he's having a good year and, a team needs a defensive end, kind of like Chase Young last year, but it's rare.
Yeah, no. Then that'll be interesting. I think one of the best things about training camp is just seeing the first couple days and, the first couple padded practices. And then my favorite, the main even better than the preseason games, are the joint practices because that's where teams are still trying to assert their dominance. Teams are still fighting for roster spots, and it gets really gritty. Because at the end of the day, I think, preseason, similar in a way, it's just so vanilla. It's the same plain thing. And like, I don't know. The Ravens never seem to lose a preseason game. The Vikings never seem to win one. So, that especially just doesn't make it fun. So I'm really excited to see the practices. And I think, it'll be a good test. Obviously, Patriots, the Eagles will be going to one of theirs. I think the Eagles, obviously still one of the best teams, will be a good test for them. And I'm excited for the Vikings, Cleveland Browns joint practice coming up. That should be, a great battle. Obviously, Cleveland's defense last year be a perfect test for, these quarterbacks like Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy. And then similar, for the Browns, I think it'll be good because you're going up against, some of the best weapons in the league. And then Deshaun Watson getting some experience against, one of the best defensive coordinators in Brian Flores. So I think both ways it's going to be very beneficial. And I'm excited. I think those two teams are definitely going to be a great battle. I think it's going to be physical, which, is the way Cleveland likes it. So I think that'll be very exciting as well. I'm curious why they're not coming to Minnesota and going to Cleveland because I know Cleveland's such a dump, but that's whatever. Right. It's for another story.
I was going to say though, for both of us, this might be, I know you said training camp and preseason are pretty boring, and I agree with you. But for both of us, I think my eyes are going to be on the preseason games more than a lot of games in the past because we both have quarterbacks who are probably not going to start this year, but probably going to get some pretty good reps in preseason. So we're really going to get to see our first look at them.
I'm definitely going to be very curious. What it's like, but also at the same time, I've just gotten the sense like I like seeing like on Twitter and the little things like what JJ McCarthy does like in practice, against the Vikings defense that is trying. And I'm not saying, preseason camp or preseason games, the defenses aren't trying. It's just so vanilla. Like if he went, 5 for 6 with, a touchdown, I would, be good. I kind of want, but like, I also don't know how much I can take away just because these defenses aren't throwing, any creative schemes at him, like they would in a regular season game where they're trying to, make a stop. So I like looking at, but it is always good just to see him against a real defense, So I do what you mean, because obviously, I'll definitely be tapped in, but even if he throws a pick or something, or if Drake May threw a pick, I'd kind of treat it the same way, where it's like, CJ Stroud, I think in his preseason debut against the Patriots last year went like
he looked very, very bad. And people
yeah,
saying,
so it could go both ways. It could look really good, really bad. I think Bryce Young looked all right, and he turned out to have a poop year. Wasn't really mainly on him, in my opinion, but still, I don't take too much away, but it would be good just to see him on the field. I just like seeing their numbers against like a defense that is trying, and seeing him go 8 for 11 in there, which I'm more encouraged by than I would say like a good preseason game, because it's just whatever it is at that point. But at the end of the day, it should be really good.
Yeah, I mean, you can take this with a grain of salt, because I'm just saying that sometimes in the past when we've seen QB battles, I know, and take this with a grain of salt, because I know how you're going to react, but Mac Jones' rookie year, I don't think he was expected to start, and then all of a sudden he had a really good, training camp, preseason, everything, and he ended up taking Cam Newton's spot. And when I saw that, like, Cam Newton got cut. Now, granted, those are two guys who Cam Newton is no longer in the NFL. Mac Jones is now a backup. Like, they both didn't really pan out after that. So it's not like it was anything crazy. But I'm just saying something like that may happen. Say J.J. McCarthy has an insanely good training camp where he's, like you said, going 8 for 10 against a Vikings defense that's trying to throw stuff at him, and then goes out there in the preseason game where maybe I think in these preseason games, at least if I were a coach, obviously I'm not, but if I were a coach, I would more so be looking at how he's reacting to maybe the pressure, because now all of a sudden you've got all these cameras on you, all these people watching you. You actually have another team on the other side of the field. It's not just, you don't have that red shirt on where you can't get hit. So that's maybe more so how I'm watching it, is mentally. And if he's doing good mentally, he could take Darnold's spot if Darnold looks bad.
Yeah, no. And I think from what I've seen, I think they both look pretty good in training camp just based on pure numbers. They're definitely both been growing pains though. But Kevin O'Connell came out as soon as they drafted him saying they have a step-by-step plan. And once McCarthy meets all those requirements, he'll start. So it could be week 1, could be, next season. I'm just kind of curious, when because he said once he meets all those plans, he'll fit right in. But there's also been, stuff where Kevin O'Connell has been on the coaching staff for guys like Johnny Manziel and Dwayne Haskins, where they were kind of just rushed in. Wasn't really his call. He came out and talked about how, like, for Dwayne Haskins, they had a step-by-step plan, or a plan that, he wouldn't start. And then once Dan Snyder got impatient in like a week 4 game against the Giants, they threw him in to the fire. And then the rest was, kind of what it is. So I think, he's going to learn from that mistake. He has this plan in place that he's not going to stick to, even if the media, Vikings start off 0-3 and they're like calling for a QB change, because he's looking for McCarthy's best interest. And, it could be as late as, we're talking about him, just being the starter next season, or, early week 1, because maybe you're right. Maybe, he meets all those expectations, but I trust the plan. Even if Sam Darnold looks bad, but, McCarthy isn't ready, they're just going to ride Sam Darnold out there. Or, Nick Mullins to go out there, throw 400 yards, 4 picks, 4 touchdowns in a game. So, you got some shield weapons there, which I like. I'm excited. But yeah, similar with Drake May, don't want to throw him in.
Right. And I almost think that now that you say that, with like Kevin O'Connell's past, if I'm a Vikings fan, I'm almost a little bit relieved to hear that, because he knows what not to do. Like, he knows you can't rush these guys in. Like you said, he had a plan for Dwayne Haskins, and just obviously, Dan Snyder is a terrible owner and not really a good human. So it's kind of a good thing he's no longer in the NFL. But back to the point, he knows that's probably what he made this plan around, is like, don't rush him in like we did Johnny Manziel. Don't put pressure on him. Wait until we see these things in practice and then let him play. So I would, if I'm a Vikings fan, that's, pretty encouraging to me.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It is encouraging because, I do. Some fans may be impatient, want to see him, but he's got to be ready because then once he's in and doesn't look great, it's like, well, crap, that was for nothing. But I'll trust the plan, and there's going to be definitely some other interesting quarterback battles and position battles for all the teams as we get deeper into training camp. But first pad practices were yesterday, and today we have a big another day of training camp news, and hopefully the injuries stay down. But it'll be interesting to see where some of these guys like Stephon Gilmore and some of those cornerbacks are just kind of waiting, I think, until the grind of training camp is over to come in. So that'll be interesting to see where they eventually sign, because obviously still one of the better cores in the league. Stephon Gilmore, especially at a high level. Xavier Howard has been dealing with some weird off the field issues, but he might get a contract. So we'll see. But overall, just exciting to have football back. We can smell in our rearview mirror as we approach August now for training camp, and football is upon us. But with that being said, we'll be here to recap, all the important stuff that training camp has to happen as it comes along. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. We'll catch you next one. Peace.